All right, now for the next one that we have, which is the CountIF. So how do you find the CountIF? Now, if you remember, I said something about the count, which is being used to count the number of items that you have. But at this point, now we are using what the range and the criteria. So now this is what our range and what is the criteria at this point now there is something that I want us to take note here, which is something here, which is when I click on this drop down arrow here, you can see that I have various list items there. How do we achieve all of this? Just quickly, in case if you want to do yours. So what I did was to do what? To go to data menu here, then I clicked on data validation, then I said data, then I come here and select what? List. Now type the names of the items that you want. Say you want apples. Please make sure you enter the right option there. Oranges, let me say lemons, and bananas. Now when you click on OK here, automatically if you click on this, you'll be able to select any of the options that you have here. Now if you don't want any of these, just click on it and go to where you have data validation. Go back to the same spot again, then try and come and say clear all. Automatically when you say OK, all those things should not be there anymore. So let's go into the CountIF. So now how do you work with the CountIF? Equal CountIF, open your brackets, CountIF for the range. This is the range, the whole of this is the range. Then the range. Now what is your criteria? The criteria is the one that you are using to check the number of counts, which is what you have what in what A23. So I'll come and type what A23, then close the bracket here and strike what enter key. So automatically it's telling us that our apples that we have here is what 3. Can you see that? So okay, now as we have it this way, you can equally come here and change the values that you have here, and automatically it's telling us what 3, because the number of values that we have is actually 3. But if I come here now and remove the value of S, I remove that word S, you see it's telling me what 2, because it's not seeing the same value that I have here. So you should take note of that. How you use what your CountIF to find what the range using what your criteria. So now let's look at the CountIFs. Now the CountIFs here has to do with working with 2 or more records. So because I'm using fruits and type does not really mean you can also use what items and what location. So if you're into processing, if you're a processing company and you want to work with this, you can also use this option. So how do you make use of this? Equal CountIFs, open your brackets. Now what is your first criteria? Your first criteria is this, then comma, your fruit is yes, then comma again, the whole of this is your second criteria or criteria range, the comma what, now where your type is. So I will type it here, which is what age 23. So I'll type the age 23, then close my bracket and strike what enter key. So automatically it's telling me that oranges, when I select oranges here, the oranges that are in Florida are what 1. The number of oranges that I have in Florida is what 1. So if I change this to, let's say lemons in Florida, we don't have any lemons in Florida. You can check lemons as a fruit, none is what grown in what in Florida. You can also change the value that you have here to anyone that you want. Don't forget I use my list item to achieve all of that. Now for the last part, for the next one I have, which is the SumIF. Now the SumIF works using what calculating the whole sum of the items that are what on what the fruits. So how do you work with this? Using the same range and criteria also. So now you come and say equal SumIF, open your brackets, SumIF for the range here, the comma what you have here. So I think I need to type that, it's not going to be accessed. So I type N23, yes, comma, then the whole of this range here. Then you close your bracket and strike enter key. Automatically saying that the apples that we have here are what 150, because I have 50 here, I have another one 50 here, and I have another one also 50 here. So if I change the value of this one to any other value, let's say bananas, it's telling me it's 180 because we calculate 60 banana, another 60, another banana, another 60. So it's giving us what 180. Now let's look at the last part, which is the other important part of this class, which is the SumIFs. Now, working with the SumIFs, you need to take note of some certain things first before you start working with it, which is what we have three records here. Now, the first thing I want to do is to do what? To say equal SumIFs. So now let's understand how the criteria here works, which is what I want to do. Select the whole of this first, which is what the value that I have here, all this value here, because I want to add them. Select the whole of this value here. I will say that now when you have selected the value of this one here, then the next thing you need to do is to do what? To select what? The items. The items. Don't forget to put your comma. Select your items here, which is all of this. Can you see that? Now when you are done doing that, then the next thing is to do what? To call the criteria. So here I will say what? Comma here and say U23. I think so. U23, then comma, then select, because we have only one that is main here, which is what? The this type here. Select the whole of this, then comma, and say what? The type, which is under what? V23. Then close your bracket and strike enter key. So that means that the total number of oranges that we have under this navel here is what? 40. If you change the type here to a different type, maybe Florida, it's telling you what oranges that you have in Florida, the total is what? 20. The total is 20. Don't forget, I consider this first before considering the fruits. Then I consider the criteria. Then consider the type. Then before I consider the type criteria. So thank you for your time. We'll see you tomorrow.